I believe I can continue to fight, maybe in a different manner. I will not run for Speaker again. I'll have the conference pick somebody else.
I'm Mark Zbierabak, political columnist for the Los Angeles Times, and today we're talking about Kevin McCarthy and his historic ouster as Speaker of the House. And for those of you who are into symmetry, his removal came 9 months to the day that the balloting began. 15 rounds, more than ever before. 15 rounds for Kevin McCarthy to finally secure the speakership, a job he has wanted forever. And the interesting thing, and forgive the cliche, but the seeds of his destruction were really sown in the course of that process. Here's why. The House, when they start a new 2-year session, gets to make up a lot of the rules. Pretty sweet, right? So as part of the negotiations with folks who didn't want Kevin McCarthy to be Speaker, he agreed to cede a lot of power over things like committee assignments. But most significantly, he agreed to something called a motion to vacate. Any member who wasn't happy with him at any time could bring up a motion to vacate the chair, to throw him out. Kevin McCarthy agreed to that as a price to pay to become Speaker. And lo, what happened? Matt Gaetz, fair to say, pretty much despises Kevin McCarthy and very much loves being the center of attention, brings this motion to vacate. Democrats weren't about to save Kevin McCarthy's skin. His problem, and I'm going to put on my commentator cap here, which I can do as a columnist. I'm allowed to have opinions and comment on things that happen in the news. Kevin McCarthy's problem at the bottom of the day is no one trusted him. He had shown himself to be unprincipled, to blow with the wind, to do whatever it took to get where he wanted to be, which was Speaker. Democrats didn't trust him. Republicans didn't trust him. So in the end, 8 of McCarthy's fellow Republicans voted against him. 8 out of a couple hundred members, but 8 combined with the Democratic vote was enough to throw Kevin McCarthy out. So where do we go from here? Kevin McCarthy has said he's not going to try and be Speaker. He's not going to put himself up as a candidate when Republicans meet next week. Also, interestingly, said he's not 100% sure he's even going to stick around the House. Hasn't said anything more along those lines, but it wasn't a definitive, yeah, count me in for sure. So on Wednesday of next week, the Republicans are going to vote on a new Speaker. There are a handful of folks who have put their proverbial hats into the ring, including Steve Scalise, who is now the number 2 Republican, Jim Jordan, head of the Judiciary Committee. So no shortage of candidates. You might want to stop and ask yourself, why would you want that job? But, you know, it comes with a really nice office and a pretty cushy landing when you do get booted out, if you do get booted out. So the Republicans are going to vote on a successor for McCarthy next week. Really important thing that went down and actually was the proximate cause of McCarthy's departure. You may recall we came really, really close. The collective we, America, the United States, came really close to a partial government shutdown last weekend. It was avoided because Republicans wouldn't vote for the necessary legislation to bring it to a halt. McCarthy turned to Democrats to do it, passed this legislation, kept the government open, got Matt Gaetz and a lot of those folks exercised. And so we got a 45-day extension. Well, 45 days. Now we have 2 weeks, this week and probably next week, all tied up on this whole speakership drama, which is not going to leave a lot of time for Republicans and Democrats to come together again to keep the government open. So basically what Republicans did was kick the can down the road. Now they got to figure who their speaker is going to be. Now, the House is an interesting place. As I said, they get to make up their own rules. One of the rules is that you don't have to be a member of the House to be House Speaker. Go figure, but that's the way things are. So one name that has cropped up is Donald Trump. He didn't rule it out. He suggested that a lot of people are talking to him about it and have suggested it. Threw a little bit of cold water on the idea. Obviously, he's pretty busy running for president and dealing with a lot of lawsuits and criminal indictments, but didn't rule it out. Personally, when it comes to Donald Trump, the words can't, not, won't, never, ever are forever more strict from my vocabulary. So I'm not going to say it couldn't happen, but it seems very, very unlikely. Not least because there's an awful lot of members who come from districts where Donald Trump is not very popular. More than a dozen Republicans in the House come from districts that Joe Biden carried. Others in very, very competitive districts. I don't imagine they would be too enamored of the idea of voting for Donald Trump for Speaker, but crazier things have happened. And as always, for more political news, you can go to latimes.com.